Hello, friends. This is Ralph Robinson coming at you again with a short reading from my book, Volume 1 of Back in the Day. And this is a chapter called the Baxter Terrace. The Baxter Terrace was a housing project that I grew up in, or partially grew up in. James Baxter was the first African American school principal in Newark, New Jersey, and he took on that job, and he was only 19 years old. So they named the project after him, James Baxter. So the Baxter Terrace, or the BT as we affectionately called it, was our home turf. Our family lived in a three-bedroom apartment on the third floor of 144 James Street. I had my own room with a window facing the courtyard, and my younger brothers, Michael and Robert, who went by their nicknames Mikey and Fuzzy, shared a room together. The Smiths lived in an apartment across the hall. They were nice neighbors, quiet, even-tempered, and generally happy with minding their own business. We were the only two families on the third floor, also the top floor. Lanisha Smith was 1 year older than me, and she was a lovely creature who had a couple of older sisters who were equally as attractive. And Georgie, their little brother, was the studious type and seemed to always have his head in a book. As I said, Lanisha was only 1 year older than I, and she never let me forget it. She constantly reminded me of this and knew just how to keep me in place. Lanisha was rather conservative and mature beyond her age. I respected her. She was nowhere near being fast or flirty. That's probably why I never tried to hit on her. At my age, it was all about hormones and instant gratification. Girls who played hard to get took a back seat, metaphorically speaking. And when I grew older and got my driver's license, the metaphor turned into reality, and taking the back seat with a pretty girl was a good thing. The families on the second floor, being transients, seemed aloof, and so I had a little chance to know them. Jerome and his older brother, Scooby, they were both older than me, they lived on the first floor. Scooby was the oldest. Their father was a menace. He reminded me of the character portrayed by Robert Duvall in the movie The Great Santini. Yeah, Santini, a career U.S. Marine officer, was an authoritarian father. And he was super strict and believed in unabated corporal punishment. On any given day, we could hear Scooby and Jerome's father verbally reprimanding them while simultaneously whipping their behinds with his belt. It went like this. Didn't I whack? Tell you to whack? Not to go outside, whack. This here courtyard, whack. Despite his liberal use of aggressive punishment, Jerome and Scooby were really bad boys, always fighting and getting into trouble. This lends some empirical data to the theory that aggression is learned behavior. They learned from their father that violence is okay. Also, excessive punishment may be significantly linked to behavior that leads to a child being diagnosed with conduct disorder or oppositional defiance disorder. It seemed like the more these two were punished, the more they broke the rules. Me and the boys kept our distance from Jerome. Even though we were close in age, we were afraid that he was going to bring us down with him. Personally, I had too much respect for my parents to cause them the kind of grief that might result by hanging around Jerome. The boys agreed not to extend him an invitation to join our gang. It was just too risky. Our decision proved to be a wise one as Jerome ended up being sent to reform school. On occasion, when I crossed the line and caused my parents grief, I found living with the guilt to be overwhelming. They both, especially Mom, had this uncanny ability to say things that would penetrate my emotional center. Call it spirituality, karma, mind reading, telepathy, or whatever. They seemed to know my thoughts better than I did. Thinking back, I see that they quite simply were mature, sensitive, and insightful when it came to rearing and nurturing their children. These are qualities I feel are essential for successful parenting. As the oldest of three boys, I had to learn things that were traditionally relegated to female family members. Mom and Dad taught me how to do almost everything related to domestic living. At the time, I didn't appreciate having to do what I considered women's work. But I later realized that what they taught me was invaluable. In my mind, I excelled in cooking, cleaning, laundry, ironing, and babysitting. Even today, my ironing skills are better than my wife Anita's. It's okay, she gave me permission to say that. I won't let her iron my clothes because her skills are not sharp enough for me. Being a career military man may have something to do with this ideology. Before we met, I was the resident ironing guru in my barracks. She doesn't mind me bragging about this. It's just one less thing she has to do. One might even think I'm being manipulated, but I won't go there. A little role reversal now and then is healthy. For years, she would mow our lawns, but now that we're older, we have a lawn service. I hated mowing grass, but she loved it and did it quite well. One reason I mention all of this is because I have seen too many of my boys become so dependent upon females that they couldn't seem to function without them. They needed someone with domestic skills to take care of them. In my opinion, that's not a good premise to build a relationship on. But I don't want to sound too judgmental here, so let's just say different strokes for different folks. So life in our courtyard was structured and intimate. Most of us knew one another pretty much, and although a few of us had some really wacky personalities, all in all, we got along well. Parents, mostly women, loved sitting on the courtyard benches. They watched all the activity, talked about anything and everything, and always keeping a watchful eye on their children. They felt safe and secure with one another. A sense of belonging permeated their existence. The children would also keep an inconspicuous eye on their parents, especially when they were being mischievous. Fathers liked getting together also, but they were content with staying inside, watching sports, drinking, and cheering loudly. Very rarely was there a need for police presence. We had domestic disputes, but family members and neighbors helped quell them, offered support, and kept the disruption to a minimum. This cohesiveness may have been unique to our courtyard, but I remember hearing about all-out family feuds occurring in some of the other courtyards. Courtyard number 1, for instance, which was over on Orange Street, was a bastion of a fortress of ever-increasing drama. Whenever we heard police sirens, it was usually in response to something going down in courtyard number 1. There were 2 entrances to our courtyard. The entrance on James Street was the formal entrance, and then the second entrance at the other end of the courtyard was small and not very noticeable. We called it the back way. The back way consisted of more than just an entrance. It was the gateway to another world. The BT projects extended throughout the backway, but the backway area seemed more like suburbia. Nice, neat, grassy areas, clean, odor free hallways and staircases, quiet tenants, and well behaved children. Euphoria. And great playground facilities with outdoor showers that really worked for the kids to play in during hot summer days. I used to walk through the back way on my way to Central Avenue Elementary School while never once feeling threatened. When traveling through some of the other areas of the BT, I was hyper vigilant, always on the lookout for potential trouble. But the back way was not like that. People were friendly, courteous, and non territorial. Whenever I carried groceries for people living in the back way, I knew it meant a good tip. We once lived in the back way. I was very young and don't remember too much. I was told we had to move because the particular building we lived in was going to be converted into office space for the Housing Project Administration. That's when we moved to 144 James Street. There were two brick buildings in the backway area that were very close together. The distance between them was only 3 feet. The buildings were about 3 stories high, just like the apartments. As part of our initiation into the Wildcats, guys had to slide in between the two buildings and straddle themselves against both walls until they reached the top and then climb on top of either one of the roofs. Very few guys were willing to try this. Had our parents known about it, they would have been livid. No one ever fell or got hurt, but the anxiety leading up to the event was pain enough. The actual feat was not that difficult, but only those that had done it knew that. For those contemplating doing it for the first time, it was nerve-wracking. Our kitchen window and the windows in Mom and Dad's room faced the back way. All the other windows in our apartment faced the courtyard. We had the advantage of experiencing both worlds depending upon our vantage point. On days when I was feeling a little anxious, I found myself staring out the kitchen window, daydreaming and trying to achieve inner peace. On days when I was feeling a little blue, I would stare out my bedroom window, taking in all the activity in an attempt to elevate my mood. On days when I was on punishment or grounded, neither window gave me comfort. This is a picture of what the back way looked like. Front yard, front court, and the back way. Okay, that's it for now. That's it for now, folks. Thank you.